Hey everybody. So working on the wing, still shaping it. You can see we have a leading edge profile here. It's not, exactly where I need it to be, but it's good enough for now. The trailing edge, obviously, that needs quite a bit more work, especially the flaps. You can still see that's still quite thick. But I can't really get into that and dig into it until I can seal these up, get the flaps permanently installed. So what I'll have to do is we'll take them out again, really go to work on that trailing edge while they're uninstalled from the wing, and just kind of line them up periodically throughout the sanding process, just to see how we're doing, making sure that I'm not digging in too far and creating a discrepancy between the wing surface and the flap surface, if you follow that. So then after that's done, and I get the flaps pretty much where I need them to be, you can see, I don't know if you can see this or not, but I added a 16th strip of balsa here. You can see this gap is greater than this one. And that's why I wanted to reduce the gap here with the flaps in the up position. And you see when you add the strip to the wing, it does not interfere with the flap movement. If I had added the strip to the flap, that would have caused it to bind up inside of the wing. So that's why it's added to the wing and not the flap. So we'll pop these out again, and I'll close up this gap with a strip of probably 16th, and then sand it to make sure that it works. Get a nice straight line, but we want something that gives us this reveal instead of this one. Okay, so there's that. And what else was I going to talk about with regard to the wing? I've drilled replaced the location of the locking pins. The gun barrel is, this is on the P47. There are 8 guns, so 4 on each wing, and they have a longer barrel here. The gun closest to the landing gear mechanism, the machine gun is forward in the wing, and that's so that it clears the landing gear hydraulic mechanism buried in the wing. So the first gun is sticking out quite a bit, and then as you go out toward the wingtips, the barrels go in as the guns are actually staggered. So the first machine gun comes to about here, the next one here, the next one here, the next one here, and that's also so that the ammunition belts can feed in and clear each other as they feed into the machine guns. Now I'm not going to be modeling the gun bays and the machine guns and all that on this kit. I thought about it, but I'll save that for another project, and I probably have one sitting here that I could do that to. Would make for a really interesting project. But for this one, no, we're just gonna get the wing cleaned up, make sure the flaps function, make sure the gear is retractable. And I know now there's some other topic. Oh yes, here it is. Okay, now I see. So I remember when I said that I was stacking material on the wingtips and also under the underwing surface, and that was so that I could see as I'm sanding down here with this reveal between the layers, and that would help me to keep the shape of the wings symmetrical one to the other. I could tell just by looking along this reveal, if you see it here, that we had a consistent chamfer, and so that's why it was layered, and that way I could see from one wing to the other how close we were on the flaps compared to the underwing surface where we were with regard to that chamfer, making sure that it was uniform and consistent. If this is a wavy line, if this line's cutting in and out, I know I've got a problem. If it's not symmetrical from one side to the other, and here you can see we're close. This one has a little bit more material on it. This one I sanded a little deeper. So what we'll be doing is just making sure that as I get closer to the end of the sanding and shaping process for the wings, that these are identical in what that area looks like, that reveal. Same with the wing tips. You see the smaller section of layering that I put right at the peak of this wing rib, and you can see we get a nice half moon shape to that, and we can see the reveal is even all the way around. Same here, this one has been sanded a little bit deeper, and that's why the small cap here at the peak of the outer wing rib is smaller than it is on this end. Right, so these are things that, you know, it's a tell. It's a way for me to see at a glance, you know, how we're doing on this wing shaping. The carving process, I call it. That's where I use the 60 grit or 50 grit sandpaper and really do the hard, heavy sanding to get the thing carved to shape, to get the profiles I want. The wing leading edge profile, the wing tip profile that I want, the trailing edge profile we want, as well as this airfoil shape that we're going for down here. And again, once I get, you know, this finished, then I'll be able to start working on the landing gear proper. We'll be able to get this fairing placed, and in looking at the drawings and photographs of the actual P47, we can see that this cutout, they didn't quite get it right with what's provided in the kit. In other words, I'll show you what I mean. It's not, it's adaptable, it's just not exactly what it should look like. So again, what I'll be doing is using birch ply, replacing the cardstock here. These will be just templates for the birch ply that I'm going to make the actual parts out of. But for instance, this, let's go on this side. So the fairing is going to look like this with the white part cut away, but it's not. That's not quite exactly how it should look. And so what we're going for here is actually going to be, let's see, is this going to be, I think this is right. So the actual cutout is not going to be rounded like this, but it's going to be square at the top to fit these doors. It'll only be round here at the bottom. So this is almost accurate, although I'm sure I'm going to have to, you know, because this is a much larger radius curve between the two doors. This curve is actually longer and shallower than this one. This is a tight radius and comes up like so, when in reality it needs to come, and these should overlap just a little bit where the white area is. So you can see this is, instead of this shape, let me see that, I know this is funny, but so this is what, this is the profile here that we should actually see here. And this is the profile along the bottom, more of an egg shape than this round shape. But all of this has to be figured out perfectly. It has to go, this cutout, in other words, has to be in exactly the right spot as the gear falls into the wing. So that length is going to be critical, and that means that where this goes, either, you know, more this way or more this way. Now obviously I'm kind of limited how far I can go here, So whatever that distance is, that's optimal. That's where we'll need to be. So that's going to be a determining factor in the length of our landing gear. This piece is going to be sleeved over. Believe it or not, this is actually, I think, the skinniest part of this landing gear leg. There might be one diameter smaller, the next size down, that fits in here. This one maybe actually be the smallest diameter. But this is really robust landing gear on this airplane, and I didn't have, this is the largest diameter I have, so I had to order 2 additional lengths of aluminum tubing in a larger diameter than this. But this will go over it first. Obviously we'll start with the very thinnest material. This will not show, this will not show. These will just be there to keep, in other words, they'll be there to keep this from happening. So we'll sleeve it up to this diameter, and this will become the active minimum diameter, and then the larger diameters will be slipped over the top of this to form the actual progression. So heaviest, thickest diameter here. With this is what is this? 7/16, I think. 7/16, 3/8, and then this diameter. I don't have my calipers, but you can see this is stepped off. And looking at the photographs that I have, it is fairly robust landing gear. I was surprised that this was actually so small by comparison. You see, for the minimum diameter here, that's what we're going to go with. This is a little bit slighter than what's drawn in here, so I'm actually going to be just a little bit less than what they've diagrammed here. And again, this is semi-scale. This is not to scale, and they do that a lot on this P47. There's aspects of it that aren't terrifically to scale, but this is, you know, this is what I do. I build to the kit. I make slight modifications here and there to enhance some scale aspects, to bring out some scale aspects, but I'm not going for a perfect scale, and I'm not going for an exact out-of-the-box build. I'm doing something sort of in the middle. That's what I do. And you guys that, you know, been watching the channel or following or looking at the videos, you can see that, and I've talked about it. All right, so but we're gonna try to get the landing gear right, and that process is coming. But you know, again, shaping this wing is job one right now. Getting that in line so that I can then lay a fairing on here. If I do it now and this surface is just too flat, then I won't be able to continue shaping the wing, and I don't want to do that yet. I want to keep working on that shape and get that profile closer to where I want it to be before I take the birch ply fairings and cover these with the different openings now. All right, and then we'll get that done. Get those cut so that I can see exactly how they're going to look, and then I'll be dressing the wheel well interiors and trying to scale them up a little bit, make them look a little more to scale. We'll get that interior green paint onto those, get those, you know, get them painted up once they're skinned, and have all the hydraulic lines. I'm going to be using solder for the hydraulic lines and other stuff that you see in a wheel well. So I have some plastic models, spare parts that I can use for the gear actuators, for the landing gear door actuators, and for the actual landing gear pump, hydraulic pumps. So, you know, we'll have these, you know, looking like P47 wheel wells, hopefully. And I've got wire for brake lines and, you know, other scale representations that we need to get to make the landing gear look right. And I'm still working on the locking mechanism, but I can show you maybe something if I I can find that length of tubing. No, no, I don't know where I put that. Son of a biscuit. Well, anyway, Oh, here it is. Great. So with the gear down, and this will work in the down position. It doesn't quite capture in the landing gear retracted position, but I'm going to push this through. That locks the gear down. So this will be where the gun barrel goes. It'll just attach to this rod, and then that'll release the landing gear. It may be that I'll need to use, see, it catches way over there, but I think there's two things I can do. One, I can have two barrels on each side, actuate one for the down lock and one for the up lock, or I can let friction do the job. Let's back that out, rotate the gear to full down, throw that in, and we're locked in. I can have friction do the job, and when the wheel retracts into the well, what I can do is when that leg is installed, I can have a balsa block attached on either side of this opening that this would just clear into, with friction holding the leg in the wheel retracted position. And we can do that either up here, or we can do that with the wheel itself. When the gear is all the way in and down, I can block at the top and bottom of the well so that the wheel actually goes in, and the two wood blocks would press against the wheel's surface and hold that in a positive capture, friction lock, if you will. We can do that. So, but at least the gears, the gear legs are locked in the down position using the gun barrel method, which is fine. That's good enough for me. So that's done. I think that's going to bring you up to speed on where the project is. Oh, the other item is that once the flaps are permanently installed, I'll be cementing a balsa block. So we'll take a sleeve balsa block, drill it out, and sleeve it over this end of the piano wire here, and then we'll capture this end with the super glue there, and then these will work in unison. In other words, you move one flap and they'll both go down. The other thing, I don't know if I